this came out a day or two ago, and we didn't really talk about it. It was just kind of something that kind of slipped through. It wasn't like the main headline on ESPN or anything, but I saw it a couple days ago, and it was about collusion in the NFL, and I was like, "Oh, that's interesting." And it didn't really blow up. Well, here we are 48 hours later, and it actually made the front page of ESPN today. And I thought this was interesting that other outlets started to kind of pick up on this. And I'm not going to try to pretend that this is some sort of smoking gun that's going to take down the NFL, because nothing's going to take down the NFL. Maybe like the fall of Rome did not happen in the span of like 1 year. It's like the people are like, oh, the fall of Rome. No, Rome took like 150 years to fall. It's a slow death. And maybe the NFL eventually has a slow death. At one point, I'd like to point out that boxing was the biggest sport in the country. Major League Baseball was the national pastime. And neither one of those sports, especially boxing, I mean, they're shadows of their former self.
Right.
Baseball has become largely a regional thing and is really tucked in number 3 behind, the NBA. But nothing is coming right now in the foreseeable future to take down the NFL. I thought the concussion thing could possibly really hurt the NFL. I mean, it was killing players.
Yeah.
The NFL was literally killing players and then hiring doctors to cover it up and then refusing medical benefits for players that were dying. I mean, that's about as scummy as it gets. Nothing happened. Nothing. Then you had the whole domestic abuse violence thing, and we're like, the NFL kind of looking the other way at really bad dudes. Everyone from Greg Hardy to Ray Rice to Ray Carruth to Tyreek Hill. Didn't matter. Put on some pink cleats, sell some breast cancer merchandise. Everything's fine. Then we had the whole kneeling thing, and you were told by the president, fire those sons of bitches, and I'll never watch the NFL again, and the NFL's gone woke, and end racism, and go woke, go broke. How long did that last? 6 weeks? 7 weeks? Last time I checked, the NFL, more popular than ever. So let me just state that from the beginning. Nothing's coming for the NFL. Maybe somewhere down the road, decades from now, something else, the rise of, I don't know, the WNBA, something takes it down, or all the men lose all the testosterone in the world and no longer, interested in combat stuff, and the NFL falls. But the NFL is the 900-pound gorilla, and it's going nowhere. And I think because of that, at times, the NFL basically takes on this we're too big to fail. We can do whatever we want. I mean, we had the whole Brian Flores thing down there with the Miami Dolphins, and nothing came of that. Brian Flores came out and basically said, I was being punished for winning ball games. And there was a lawsuit, and it was like, no. Yeah, John Gruden basically fired for being sexist and racist, sending other emails back and forth with team owners and management. Nothing came of that. And so I just think nothing scares the NFL. But it was found out Pablo Torres, by the way. How about that guy? Dude, that guy's getting to the bottom of everything. He's like sifting through Bill Belichick stuff, and he's the one that initially had this. So the NFL was investigated into collusion in the year 2022, which, if you remember, is when Deshaun Watson was coming off of his rub and tug scandal and was on the commissioner's list, didn't play for a year, and the Cleveland Browns signed him to the first ever fully guaranteed contract. I believe it was to the tune of $230 million in the NFL. And there was an idea that the NFL owners were not happy with the Cleveland Browns for giving out a $230 million guaranteed contract, especially to one that may or may not be a sexual predator. And basically there was an investigation into whether the NFL owners colluded and got together and told each other, no more guaranteed contracts. We're not doing that. And the NFL, of course, said, oh, no, we would never do that. What are you talking about? And this is on, coming then the whole Lamar Jackson. Remember, we had that whole thing, Colin Kaepernick. So these collusion things get thrown around quite a bit. But nothing ever really gets proven. It's very hard to prove. Right. So there's an investigation into this. Did the NFL collude against the players to give out guaranteed contracts? Well, the president of the NFL Players Union came back and told the players that he represents that the findings were the NFL did not collude against players. Came out and said, no, that's sorry, we lost, and we looked into it, and we found out that there was no collusion there. And so that seemed to be kind of the end of it, correct? Like there's no more. Well, it turns out that that was a lie. That in this investigation, they found that the NFL did collude or attempted to collude. Right. So they said that the investigation found that there was evidence that the NFL owners were indeed attempting to collude and were trying to pressure each other into not giving out guaranteed contracts. What they couldn't prove was that they actually went ahead and actually colluded. So there's some gray area there. So again, investigation proves, yes, the NFL wanted to prevent guaranteed contracts. They wanted to collude. Do we have direct evidence that they were successful in doing it? That was harder to prove. And the NFLPA's executive director, his name is Lloyd Howell, he came back and told the players, no collusion. That's a lie. He works for the players. He misled the players that he is in charge. That is what he does. And on top of that, not only did he mislead the group of players that he was hired to represent, he was also working as a consultant for a company, a hedge fund company that was trying to buy their way into the NFL. He was also working for a branding company that had licensing deals with the NFL. He was working for two companies that had direct interest in the NFL as their client. And yet he was the head of a labor union of NFL players. It's like, you cannot come up with something shadier and dirtier than that. Imagine like the president of the United Auto Workers Union secretly being in bed with a company that was licensing merchandise deals with Ford and Chevy, and also was working with a company attempting to buy Ford and Chevy. That's what he was doing. And he never bothered to tell the players that indeed the NFL owners were trying to screw you over. He said, no. We looked into it. There was an investigation, and no, that it didn't happen. They didn't collude. Which technically, and he's going to say, well, technically I was right. We couldn't prove collusion. No, but you proved that they tried to. Again, imagine hiring a private investigator to find out if your wife is trying to kill you. And that guy coming back and says, well, I have good news. I have definitive proof that your wife did not hire someone to come and kill you. Might have left out the piece of information that your wife wanted to hire someone to kill you, just couldn't find someone to do it. That is what you have here in the NFL. And the NFL is so big and it's so popular. Dude, this thing was zero ripples in the sports world. Dude, it was like a fart in the wind. This is just being talked about today. This came out 48 hours ago. And it's just a little blip, blip. I don't know what would ever take down the NFL. Because even if you proved that they did collude after this to keep guaranteed contracts down, what would happen? It would go to arbitration, the NFL would pay some sort of fine, and then they would move on. By the way, just like what happened with the concussion lawsuit, they wrote $1 billion check. They wrote $1 billion and then just went away. By the way, still didn't pay a bunch of benefits or still trying to screw players over for long-term health care. They wrote $1 billion check to go away. $1 billion, whatever. They do $10 billion a year in revenue. They wrote that was like they wrote a parking ticket and made it go away. That's how huge and powerful the NFL is. I would assume at this point that Lloyd Howell, there is a petition, by the way, that Lloyd Howell, the president of the Players Union, gets the heave. I'm assuming that all of this, some heads are going to roll. No one important. Roger Goodell's not going to take the fall for this. No owners are going to take the fall for this. Oh, and by the way, in that report, it was Roger Goodell that was encouraging he was working with the owners to collude. But I can't wait for Roger Goodell's statement where he's like, well, I don't know what to tell you. I did an investigation into myself, and I found that my character was extremely high, and I would never do anything like this. And as the report states, I in no way colluded against the players. And why did the union boss, why did he side with us? Who's to say? They'll make this Lloyd Howell guy the fall guy. And maybe one of these private equity firms that was trying to get in bed in the NFL, maybe that will be pushed to the backside and that won't get involved in anymore. But if you're an NFL player, I think this is kind of scary. That not only are the owners against you, not only is the commissioner against you, but the guy that you hired to represent you is against you. And even when caught red-handed, lying to you and violating his job and finding out that he was in bed with two companies working against your interest and no real changes are going to be made, just goes to show you, man, the NFL is invincible. They are the definition of too big to fail. And will this matter to anyone? Will this affect anyone's fandom once training camp starts? I don't even know if this thing will be talked about after tomorrow, because we'll hit the weekend. Maybe this will kick up 48 hours worth of stuff. But come Monday, I'm guessing that this kind of just completely disappears. And I'll tell you what, it's nice to be the NFL. It's nice to be the king, because when you're the king, you can do whatever the hell you want. And the little guy can scream and yell. And we can do it with Kaepernick. We can do it with Brian Flores. We can do it with the John Gruden stuff. You can do it as the cheerleaders. You can do it with domestic violence. You can yell from the mountaintops. But as long as you keep paying for NFL Sunday Ticket, and as long as you keep playing fantasy football, and as long as you keep buying your jerseys, and as long as you keep going to games, and as long as you keep having your draft parties, nothing's going to change, because there's only one thing the NFL cares about, and that's dollars and cents. And the NFL, brother, business is a booming.